going.
Okay. We're going live. Are you ready?
I am ready.
You want to wait till you get your hat back on? Or are you going to leave it off?
Yeah. No, well, I'm totally putting it back on.
Let's wait till... I don't want people to see you exposed in your natural state.
The state I sleep in.
Rather your unnatural state.
Woo. Oh, thank God. We're even both in the picture this time.
Hey, what do you know? And I reversed it. So anything that happens to be in there, like Dig Tech, is actually read properly. Okay, well, welcome to episode 4 of You Call This Archaeology? All right, let me try it.
Yeah.
You call this archaeology?
Podcast.
Oh, yeah, podcast.
All right, well, welcome to the YouTube audience. And I guess we should, I don't know, you can say hello to the podcast audience, and we can both say hello to the Facebook audience.
That's right. So, podcast audience, you're listening to this, who knows how long in the future, because this will be 4 episodes I have yet to edit and post, but I'm really just waiting on a logo for this. So,
I know.
We can talk about that. Yeah, podcast listeners, thanks for joining us. Hopefully this sounds good. I actually haven't started recording yet.
Really?
Yeah.
No.
So this is just the... Hi, Facebook audience, because that's what this is for. Son of a bitch.
Yeah, it happens. You just can't ask Siri to do it for you?
I can't. All right, so welcome, podcast listeners, to You Call This Archaeology podcast, episode 4. Yep. You call this archaeology? I got to do that again. Anyway, for the podcasters, for the podcast listeners, for the YouTubers, and for the Facebookers, Richie, you're putting these up on YouTube relatively quickly. Are they all up now? Okay. Yeah. So you're getting those up. The Facebook Live stuff is obviously live. We try to record at 3 p.m. on Fridays, although I finally have a repeating schedule set up for this, so I can't book over it. I gave somebody my my calendar appointment scheduler, and I hadn't put this in yet. And he just, by random chance, chose 3 p.m. on Friday.
Really?
Yeah. So I was like, son of a bitch. So I had to scramble and then move our recording to 1:45 because I didn't want to do it later. And,
that's true.
So I had to move ours. Yeah, there you go. So I had to move ours to 1:45.
Yeah.
And so we could do this. But normally, I've got it on the schedule now.
Yeah.
We're going to try to hit 3 p.m. every Friday, as long as we can, as far as the live recording goes.
True.
Hopefully, by the end of next week, I'm going to say this for real, for the Facebook Live audience and for the YouTube audience, that we should have a subscribable audio to this.
Oh, yeah.
Within the next couple of weeks. I want to get it submitted by like Monday-ish, if possible. I want to get it submitted, and we'll have all these episodes drop.
It literally won't take me that long. It's just I've been crazy busy.
I know. Honestly, I haven't put together any of the stuff for it either. It's pretty easy to set up a new webpage for it and everything. I mean, that's just like click on Squarespace and I'm done. Yeah. But and then submitting the feeds is pretty easy. But
wait, is that something I'm going to be doing in a few weeks?
You might be, and we can talk about that. So anyway, that's how that is going. And so to get back into the show, I want to start off real quick. I know you've got some topics planned, but I want to say this because I'm glad. Now, I don't know if it's because we actually don't have any listeners and it's just all Google web bots that are listening to us, but theoretically we have like 70,000 monthly subscribers to the APN. And anybody listening to this new show or checking us out on Facebook Live, I want to just say thank you for bearing with me because I have been late on every single show we have.
Really?
Yeah, I mean, some of them weren't that late, like they came out the same day they were supposed to come out, but not at the time. And it's because, I mean, I haven't done a lot of work with Dig Tech, my my CRM firm, in the last year. And that's on purpose. I've been focusing on Codify, the podcast network, other things.
Yeah.
But I had one project that we've been trying to get done for a year. It's just the, really like 10 months. Just the weather just really put a damper on things. And then I had a couple other small things that I do annually. And all that just happened to come around at exactly the same time. We talked about this because Richie was on the one project with me. And I've got all these reports that are all of a sudden due.
No.
I know. And I've had to really scramble. And when it comes down to, I'll be honest with you, and this is why we need subscribers so I can do this full time.
Yeah.
But I'll be honest with you, when it comes down to putting out a free podcast, that's my passion. I mean, I stress out over not having these out on time. And it really, really irritates me. I mean, I've been up at 4 a.m. every day this week.
Really?
So I can work on the report and then do some podcast stuff and then get everything done. Not even a joke. So
that sounds crazy.
I know. Up at 4 a.m., swimming at 10:30 because that's when the end of my day is.
Yeah.
And I've just been running ragged on this thing. Hopefully by next week, I'm caught up now and I have one report left to go. and it's kind of an easy one. So
Yeah.
I just need to do that, and it's associated site record. Actually, the project that we did,
Yeah.
I turned in a report for the annual monitoring thing, but
Neat. Oh, but before I forget, you mean 10 a.m. at night. Or 10 at night. As opposed
did I say AM?
Well, no, you just made it sound like 4
Oh.
to 10.
Yeah,
So
no,
it's
I'm working longer than that. So, but hopefully that's all behind me now. But like I said, when it comes down to doing a free podcast, which I hate to say, which is really my passion, and a $14,000 project that will help me keep the lights on and keep doing podcasting. I mean, that's a few months worth of paycheck for me, so I can do stuff. It's a few months of paycheck off, hopefully for somebody else.
Yay.
You know, to keep things rolling. So that's where I've been, and I just want to thank everybody because I didn't get any hate mail. I know for a fact, I always think as a podcaster,
Yeah.
you always think, and bloggers think this too, they think, oh, you know, every time somebody doesn't blog for a while, the first few sentences of their blog post is, sorry, I haven't been around.
Yeah.
And everybody reading that is like, oh, you haven't been around? What? Like nobody cares, right? Unless you're running some sort of, 20 million listener or reader, Forbes
or it's
editorial.
politics.
Or it's politics or something like that. Unless they're like following you every day and they're looking for your next opinion piece, then chances are nobody's even going to notice you're gone. And I have to remember that with the APN sometimes. The thing I love about podcasting is people listen to it on their own schedule.
Yeah.
They listen to it whenever the hell they want. I've got podcasts that I'm 6 months behind on. For all I know, those podcasters are dead. They got a car crash 2 months ago, and I mean, I hate to say it, but they could be just absolutely dead, and they're not even podcasting anymore. But I won't know until I catch up. So, anyway, for the people that that do listen to this and that do wait for these to come out, the only thing I can think that might be true for is the Arc 365 podcast, because it is every day.
Yeah.
And I did get a little behind on that, but not too badly. I mean, the one today was out 7 minutes late. That's not too bad.
True.
So, anyway, that's my
importantly,
soapbox.
who doesn't binge podcasts when they're like driving?
I know. So, and I also want to mention we do have we're going to try to do some drinks here, but I pulled up to the table here. I've got a brandy with me. It's a 1:45 p.m. brandy, but it is Friday.
True.
So it's 5 o'clock in the East Coast.
Is it your Friday?
It's never my Friday.
See?
It kind of is. We're going to Nevada ghost town tomorrow for the first time.
Really?
We've never been.
Which one?
Bodie.
Oh, well, that's on the California... Wait, isn't that on the California side?
It's in California. It's a couple hours south of here on Highway 395. And it's an old mining town.
True, but terrible road.
I love 395. Until you get to Bishop, then it sucks.
No, I mean, it's a good road, but just terrible memories. And good ones.
Yeah, I mean, you've been up and down there a lot more than I have, but for that one project that I had down in California, that was the one that Richie was on, then added to that the other one. I mean, I was back and forth once every 2 weeks usually.
Yeah. Oh my God! Although this is completely off topic, and it's better. It's better that way. But there was one night where I was out with my crew, and our awesome crew chief gets us a hotel in, was it Walker Lake?
Yeah.
Yeah, and there's like the Tiger Bar, which is 2 or 3 blocks away.
Nice.
And it's the middle of winter, and so we all go to the bar. And by the way, to preface this, the hotel he got us was the nicest hotel I've ever been in, other than Staybridge. It's literally bigger than my apartment. It had a living room, a dining room, a kitchen, and a giant bathroom.
That's awesome.
Yeah. And like the living room we had a couch. But anyway, so we go out drinking, and then I'm like, well, it's about midnight. I want to go home and enjoy the TV and fall asleep and stuff. So I go back to the hotel, and I wake up at 7 o'clock in the morning, which is our start time, and no one's there at all. and so finally, our crew chief and one other dude, a French dude who's very famous in this region, get up, and they're like, and so we're like, where's the other dude?
Yeah.
And so we go to the hotel room, and we knock on the door. And we're knocking, and finally he stumbles to the door. He looks so hungover, and he's like, well, it's 7 o'clock, dude. He's like, are you kidding? I literally just got into bed.
Oh my God.
And he wasn't kidding.
Yeah.
He had apparently, they all had trouble getting back to the hotel. All of them. But he had the most trouble. He got so completely lost that he had to, he just had to find shelter. So, because it was freezing. It was like January or February. And so he finds the first vehicle. Trying to reconnect. Anyway, he finds the first open vehicle, and which happens to be a pickup truck, and he goes inside of it. Yeah, it's not a bad view, though.
Yeah. keep going.
Oh, and he crawls into it and he falls asleep until about 6:30, 6:40 the next morning. And then he finally finds his way back to the hotel. And the best part, he lost his phone.
Oh my god.
He left his phone in the damn thing.
That's crazy.
No, double audio.
So hungover.
I know. We're trying to figure this live thing out. It's the first time I've ever done it.
It is?
Yeah, we'll talk about that in a second. But anyway, yeah, I remember hearing about that story.
Yeah. Well, you
Yeah.
did, because we were at the same company and same
Yeah.
project.
Yeah.
And the best part is we went and had mimosas the next morning and a leisurely breakfast. And then we had to go search for his phone.
Oh my god.
Because he couldn't remember which truck it was. He just was wandering around here and around there. And so we eventually found it.
That's ridiculous. It's totally ridiculous.
But that's true archaeology for you. That's like real archaeology.
It really is. It really is. All right, I want to take a quick second for the podcast listeners. We lost the audio on the Facebook for a minute, but that's because on Facebook Live, you have to use a mobile device, and we're experiencing a few internet type challenges in this room that we're in. So my phone, which is set up on a chair, actually using a GorillaPod kind of thing, it is transmitting, and that's what's making everything. And just so people know kind of our setup here, I've got an iPad which I'm monitoring in case anybody leaves any comments, and so I can see our video.
The iPad? That's the iPad Pro?
Yeah, it's the iPad Pro.
Oh, I thought that was your MacBook.
Oh no, this is the iPad Pro 12.1 inch.
That's your MacBook.
And then I've got my my MacBook back here, which you can probably see. I'm constantly looking back here for the video for the YouTube and Facebook audiences because this is what's recording for the audio for the podcast. So I got to make sure that that's still going and it's not going to fail. This is my new MacBook, so it's probably never going to fail.
And it's even in frame this time. I didn't even realize that because normally it's the other way around.
Nice. So we've got that, and then we've got the mixer right here, which we have dialed in. So that's all the equipment we have going on. We're working on, and then there's this thing. This microphone, theoretically, is picking Richie and I up. It's not picking us up very good because it's a crappy microphone.
Yeah.
But that's sending the audio to my phone, and Richie's getting his audio. How are you getting your audio for your YouTube? Just out of the camera? Oh, the shotgun mic on the camera. Yeah.
It's
the hot shoe mic.
It's I forget, they redesigned it, but it's like one of the Rode mics.
Okay, cool. Yeah. So that's our little gear setup. And when I'm watching the Facebook too, live connection, it lags behind like a good 10 or 15 seconds. It's crazy.
That's kind of good though.
Yeah. So
I think.
Anyway, so that's our setup. What we're working on, and if anybody knows this, leave it in a comment, because I honestly don't know a whole lot about audio stuff with the mixer. I know I'm learning. I'm learning a lot from Richie actually, but we're learning as we go. And what I need is to figure out exactly, because I know kind of what we need, but I want to figure it exactly the right way to get the audio out of this mixer into that iPhone using regular headphone jack. And I'm pretty sure
you totally can.
I'm pretty sure we had the right cable, except it didn't have the right ends on it, right? Like you had the RCA cable coming out of here, but it didn't have the 3, which is the mic.
Yeah.
It needs the mic one, because that plugs into the phone.
Which, amazingly enough, I have the opposite cable for my ear monitors.
Oh, nice.
So it goes from a 3-ring to a 2-ring.
Okay, yeah. So that's all I need to get, and I'll probably, hopefully pick that up at some point here, maybe before next week. So.
Oh, wait, that's a good segue into, people are always pitching you on podcast ideas. What's some of the weirdest or most interesting ones you've ever heard?
Actually, just back at the SAAs in Vancouver, we got pitched a few ideas, and one of them was this guy and girl came up. They were, I want to say, grad students. Yeah. Grad students always have the craziest ideas, right? I think they were grad students, and I wish they had kept in contact. I gave them my card, but I haven't heard from them since. And they think they're super funny people. Now, they were entertaining when I was talking to them, don't get me wrong, but they think they're super funny, and they basically wanted to do like a drunk archaeology kind of podcast. Like
everyone wants to do that.
Everybody wants to do that, but nobody's actually doing that. So, and I don't honestly think that that we need a quote drunk archaeology thing, because we need to be able to do a good podcast. However, there are some models that I'd like to follow.
Ooh.
This is the closest we've ever come.
Yeah.
This is the closest we've ever come to a really fun, just casual, let's sit here and chill out. There's a skeptics podcast I used to listen to called The Skeptic Zone, and they're out of Australia.
Oh.
And every month or however frequent they do it. I haven't listened to them in a long time. I had to dump them for other podcasts, but really APN podcasts because I have too goddamn many of them. But anyway, I know. So anyway, they had what do they call it? There's a thing around the world called Skeptics in the Pub, where skeptics meet once a month or something like that. They meet in a bar setting and they just chat. They just have conversations, right? Nobody's recording, nobody's doing anything. Well, they have something called the Skeptic Hot Tub, and I'm surprised they don't call it Skeptics in the Tub, because I really want them to, but they don't. But they have basically a recorder like my H4n that they just kind of put right in the. They kind of just like hang in the middle because this guy's got a hot tub at his house.
Wait a second. I just saw a YouTube video where someone was trying out portable 4-person hot tubs. It's like
portable.
Yes.
Nice.
It's like a Coleman sort of thing where it inflates and then there's like propane and stuff.
That's pretty sweet.
And I was thinking, could we move all this stuff?
Can I put that on my shit? You know what we could do? We could do archaeology in the hot tub. Because at my new house, at our new condo, we have 2 hot tubs out on the pool deck. And there are these benches, these blue benches that are sitting right next to there. They can move. So if I brought one of those blue benches a little closer, hooked this boom up to it, and then hooked my other microphone up to it. Now, it'd be hard to do Facebook Live because we don't have any Wi-Fi. It'd be cell service.
Ooh.
So we probably wouldn't do Facebook Live. But we could record an episode. We could get some people over.
Yeah.
We could have some drinks. The pool Nazis are crazy there, so everything has to be in like cans or plastic or something like that because glass.
Just like a hotel.
I know they don't like glass at all. So anyway, we could drop this mic so it's down in between us in the hot tub, and we could have archaeologists in the hot tub. I don't know if anybody wants to hear that or even visualize that. Facebook Live. It's probably good we wouldn't have Facebook Live. Because this, you want to see this covered up right here. This you want to see covered up. Anyway, we had 2 listeners there for a little while. Hey, if you're watching this, and I think the one watcher right now is me because I have it turned on my iPad. Facebook's too stupid to realize that my page is broadcasting and my other page is watching. However, if you do come on live, please leave us a comment or something. Just say hi.
Yeah.
Yeah, just say how's it going.
And questions and comments are always appreciated. But why did that say trying to reconnect? Was that on your end?
Because I typed that in. In case anybody, we had another watcher at the time.
Yeah.
So I typed that in on this side and left a comment just so they knew. So, okay.
Oh, but that leads me into, because there are certain people who are like, I can't do a podcast until I have all this equipment. And it's like the stupidest thing ever I've ever seen.
Yeah, I almost don't like showing this because it's too intimidating.
Yeah.
Yeah. But this is what I started with, guys. I started with this microphone, which is an iRig mic, which I bought from Radio Shack before the one I bought it from went out of business. And I had a 2011 MacBook Pro. You are going to need a computer. I mean, there's no way to get around that.
Really?
Well, if you have a recorder that, or even your phone that can record audio, and then if you don't want to edit that audio, or you can do minor edits to the audio even on your phone, and then if you just need the one thing you do need to do a podcast, and this is unavoidable, is a website. Now,
wait, right? Oh, I forgot about that.
Well, because iTunes and Google and all of them, they just read your RSS feed. They don't actually store your audio. So your audio is stored on your own servers. Now, the one way around that is to go, it'll cost you probably a little bit more money, but the one way around it is to go to a service like Blueberry or Libsyn or something like that. They actually store your files because they're your media host now, and you can put your show notes in there. You can put everything in there. Now, you won't have a website. You won't have some place where people can go and say, oh, this is where all your content is. But if you just want to put your episode on iTunes with all the show notes and everything, that's a good way to go.
Or what about SoundCloud?
SoundCloud is okay. It depends on how much you're putting out.
Oh.
If it's free, SoundCloud has a limit on the amount of uploads you can put out.
Ooh.
And it's a monthly limit. And I hit that immediately. When I was looking at SoundCloud as just one other place to put APN shows.
Yeah.
And it wasn't going to work because I would have needed an account for each show. Yeah. Not any. I couldn't have an APN account because I exceeded the upload limit of like 100 megabytes immediately. So, so you would need I would need an account for each show, which is tedious. And I might do this later on, just once I get somebody to actually manage that for me because I don't have time. But so we need an account for each show if we're doing the free one, and then you have to know what the frequency of the upload is. I mean, if the show only uploads once a month, then that could probably go on SoundCloud. Yeah. I mean, you could do a 128 kilobyte per second audio quality MP3 file, and that should be less than 100 megabytes every single time.
Ooh.
Yeah.
What about Stitcher?
I use Stitcher.
Yeah.
Everything we have is on Stitcher.
Interesting, but do they upload? Do you upload it there, or do they read your RSS feed too?
Everybody reads your RSS feed. Almost nobody takes an upload. SoundCloud isn't really a podcast host.
No.
SoundCloud is YouTube for audio. I mean, that's all it is. So all SoundCloud does is store your shit so you can listen to your shit. There's no... I don't even know. Can you get an RSS feed out of SoundCloud? Like, if you want to subscribe to somebody's SoundCloud channel, will that port into whatever you're listening to, or do you have to go to SoundCloud to listen to it? I don't
No, you have to go to SoundCloud to just listen to it.
Okay, so it's not even an RSS feed. SoundCloud is literally YouTube for audio.
Yeah.
Which is great. A lot of people love SoundCloud.
Yeah.
But it's got to work for you. And if you're, like I said, if your podcast, and if you want to pay, it's actually not that much money. I don't know how much it costs. I look into it. But if you're to just have one show and you want to upload all your stuff to SoundCloud, and you're exceeding their upload limits, you can pay for the next level of subscription, and it's going to be monthly. And then you get an increased level of recording, or uploads.
But I mean, the only reason I bring that up is brought up the whole equipment thing is because there are just certain people who just want to make it too complicated. They've got scripts, they've got to do voices, they want to cut here and there and add sound effects and a soundtrack and everything. And it's like, that's fine if you've got a whole team of people, but if you just have something to say, then you don't need all that crap.
No.
See?
Yeah, it's totally ridiculous.
And more importantly, price of equipment has come down incredibly crazily.
Yeah, I mean, this mixer back here was only $150. I feel like 10 years ago, this kind of mixer would probably have cost you $1,000.
Yeah. And like these headphones, they're actually monitor quality. I was listening to a podcast the other day. I could actually tell because they were, it was an interview show and they were in the studio part of the time and then they were in the field part of the time. I could tell you when they could switch from condenser to dynamic microphones in the field. And I'm like, that is crazy. And these only cost $15.
Nice.
Yeah. Which is, oh my God. Anyway.
That's awesome.
Yeah, and by the way, I did check out that certain person's Facebook feed. No, Instagram feed, because he keeps telling me to add him, and it's like, wow, you've got so much equipment, and yet you're not doing anything with it at all.
It's shocking. But that's more the norm than the exception. Because I listen to a few podcasts. One is Dave Jackson's School of Podcasting, and the other one is Daniel J. Lewis's The Audacity of Podcast. And they both say the same thing. They get a lot of people talking to them because they have services where they help people launch podcasts.
Yeah.
And they both say that the biggest thing they hear from nearly everyone is, I've got all these, either one of two things. One, I've recorded 55 shows and I don't like any of them and I'm not going to post any of them. Sure, that's fine. Okay, whatever. Or, I don't have this. I don't have that. I don't have this. I've got this weird sound in my room. I've got a... I've got a thing, I've got a that, and I need $7,000 worth of equipment to make it all go away. No, it's a podcast. It's not NPR. It's not the next, Bruno Mars album. Why is that the first thing that came to my head? Because it's overproduced and crazy. But anyway, it's not the next one of those things. I mean, we happen to be sitting in a world-class recording studio, but don't let that intimidate you. Yeah. So... But anyway, just get it done. And I'm going to be offering. I'm going to make this a little bit of a PSA here. I'm going to be offering some like one-on-one coaching for people that want to do podcasts because I'm doing that here at the Collective. So I figure I may as well do it online as well. I might as well put that out on the APN and have it. It's going to be difficult unless I get like go to training or something like that as a service. But that's a little expensive. But when I get that, I might be able to do webinars for people, and then I'll basically show you things and you go off and do the things, and then if you want, you can come to me for like a few hours worth of consultation and I'll get you set up, know, because it's really super easy and it won't take longer than that. You meet with me for an hour or two and I can get you into setting up everything you need to set up and recording and figure out your editing techniques and all that stuff. So learn from my mistakes.
And but also if you don't care about editing, you can just put it up straight.
You can just put it up straight. It depends on the kind of show you have. Yeah. What kind of tone do you want with it? Yeah. If you want a super rigid, professional, like academic style show where you're doing blah 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 blah, then you might have to really watch that for the editing. But also garbage in, garbage out. If you really plan your show, and it needs to be perfect. It needs to be TV quality, perfect. Scripted, blah blah blah. You can do that. Yeah. And if you do that, you'll have an easier time at the editing.
True.
You know,
but a lot of podcasts I follow actually are gaming podcasts, and they all broadcast live on Twitch, and they just like use free software and everything, and it's just like and they just record it on their hard drive and then upload it on their various like services, and that's it.
There you go.
Yeah.
Hey, if you're watching this live, go ahead and just leave us a hello or hit the like button down there or something.
Oh my God! Wait, I just saw that number. Oh darn it! Just went to 2.
Yeah, we're at 2. That's good. Was it at 3?
Yes.
Okay. Well, we're at 2 right now. So, there's 3. I got 3 on this side.
Oh, thank God.
So, hey, we got a like. Somebody hit the button.
Yay.
It's probably somebody we know. But who knows?
I know.
Anyway, thank you for that very much. That was cool. Colin Wren, how's it going? From back in Montreal. Yeah,
Neat.
Nice. Colin's a good guy. Colin is somebody I've wanted to do a podcast with, actually.
Really?
I think we kind of talked about it, or maybe it was just in my head, because he's into paleoanthropology and some other things, and I've really wanted a podcast that deals with.
See, that would be interesting.
Yeah. So yeah, that'd be really cool.
Oh my God! You know. What was it? I'd love to see Archie Fantasies live. That way we could get all the haters just like typing in all their with crazy conspiracies.
Oh my God, that would be a horror show.
Like Ken Fader, you are the worst hack ever.
Yeah, totally.
I know the aliens created everything.
Oh my God, that's exactly what they would say. All right, well it's about 25 after the hour. We've been going for about 25 minutes. We toyed with doing some in episode, I guess promos.
Oh, yeah.
And I want to do one real quick because this would have gone out on the audio feed, but the Facebook Live and YouTube audience would not have gotten this because these are going up straight.
Oh.
The membership program, we run that ad at the beginning of every show. We had some issues because Colin mentioned he had his 3rd kid this spring. We'll get to it this fall, so that'd be great. Colin, definitely send me an email. Anyway.
Yeah.
So for the membership thing, I actually had an email from somebody today that said they tried to sign up on their phone, but it didn't work. They were having some issues. And that was a couple days ago. But just a couple days ago, I figured out what was going on. It was the way I had hooked up the membership site to the Squarespace site, to our web host.
Yeah.
And some people were getting errors and some people weren't. So they weren't able to sign up. So if you tried it and it failed, please try again. And I like people to see our 3 membership levels at $5, $10, and $20 a month, which we might negotiate later. That's what we started with because we don't know what we're doing. But we started with that because that's what we figure. If we figure less than 1% of our listeners actually subscribe at any one of those levels, it will fund pretty much everything we need to do here at the APN.
Really?
Yeah. So, and the research I've done says that less than 1% of your listeners will actually support you financially. That's just typical. I mean, I don't support any podcast financially. I've given money to This American Life before. I've given money to who is it? Wait, Don't Tell Me. Some of the big popular. They're not even podcasts. They're I listen to them as a podcast, but they're NPR shows. So, I've done that. But there's a podcast, Skeptic's Guide to the Universe, I've been listening to for probably 8-9 years now, and I've never given them money.
Really?
I just don't think about it. So I don't expect most people to do it. I expect the less than 1% of users that listen to this and that want a little extra or just want to support the APN and what we're doing as an educational outreach effort to help support us. And kind of as a thank you for that, clearly like crazy pledge drives and stuff like that, the money you support with is not equivalent to the perks you get from it. The perks you get are the networks is just like exists. I mean, I'll tell you what, I had a huge crisis of faith this whole week saying, man, if I just quit doing this, I would have so much more free time. If I just stopped doing the APN, like how long would it take anybody to care? And because nobody ever comments or anything. So it was like, if I just stopped, my God, that would relieve so much stress in my life. But I can't stop because I love doing it. So anyway, the membership, like I said, if we have just less than 1% support us, we'll send you some things as a thank you. We'll send you some stickers. You'll get an ongoing discount in our store that we're going to have set up in the next couple months. And then you'll get bonus content as I get our podcast hosts on board with that. I'm hoping they'll start limiting their shows to the actual time frame that we set. Right now, they just go over. If they got a long interview, they just go to an hour, 20 minutes versus an hour. But I want them to actually call the end of the show at an hour and then provide the rest of the interview as bonus content. And then the premium listeners will get that. So anyway, that's it for the PSA. Check out arcpodnet.com/members. And if you try to sign up now, it will work.
Ha.
Yes.
Have you double tested it?
I have. I went on Chrome and Safari in private browsing windows with no cookies turned on and tried it. It worked great.
Wait, did you try it with your Windows machine?
I mean, no, seriously. You turn that thing on in like a month. Anyway, that's it for that. So, so go check out archpodnet.com/members, like I said. And while you're at it, go over to YouTube and Richie's page, which is...
Happy Archaeology Fun Time.
And subscribe.
Yes.
Yes.
Amazingly enough, I got 2 subscribers so far. I mean, not like total. But...
I was going to say, you're bragging about that?
But, you know, it's amazing that I was still adding subscribers in the whole year that I didn't actually upload anything.
Nice.
And, like, people were still watching the videos, which amazes me.
Well, that's the thing about this video and this audio. We get people commenting on podcasts that are 3 or 4 years old. Neat. You know, because they're going back and listening through. My thinking is they're either going back and listening to our catalog, which I've done for podcasts I like, or what I really hope is happening, because I set this up to be a resource, an educational resource, not just something where we gab, but each podcast has its own search field on the right side of the page at archpodnet.com. And that search field only searches that podcast.
Oh.
Now, if you go to the main page, archpodnet.com, and you search there, it searches the entire network. And we have over 600 episodes on there. So it searches literally everything if you use the main page. Go to a podcast page, and you can search for just one thing. And it searches the show notes, it searches the title, it searches the tags, it searches all that stuff. So if you want to know about, you go to the CRM Archaeology Podcast, and you want to know about jobs, type in jobs. And you'll get all our podcasts where we talked about jobs.
Oh my God, speaking of which, I mean, this is kind of tangential. I don't know if that's the right word.
Tangential, I think?
Yeah. But I was at, I recently went home to do a smog check. It's a very long story, so I'm not going to bore you, but I had to go to California to get my smog car checked. And it's such an old car that there are only a few service stations, or only a few smog stations in California that can do it. Anyway, so that means I went home, my hometown, went to my favorite bar, and was sitting there and thinking, it's like, man, there were like entire like winters that I would spend there, like almost like every week and stuff. And I was thinking, because we rant about this all the time, there are just certain people who get in this job and suddenly they want it to be like a job, like they want it to be like, well, I'm an archaeologist, but it's like, you know, their hours and their schedules just like they work at Starbucks. Yeah, and that's never gonna happen. Like, why would you get? Like, everyone rants about this. Like, why would you get into archaeology if you don't like travel? Like, if you can't stand to be away from your cat or your husband or your wife, then why are you doing this job? Like, there's never going to be, like, there's never going to be some magical thing where you're going to be there all the time. Even if you're a professor, you still have to do field schools. Right. Like, I mean, what possesses, like, what do you think? What possesses a student to think that they're just going to have, like, a normal life if they want to be an archaeologist?
Nice. Yeah, I mean, that's totally true. It's I know a guy that is pretty prolific online in all the archaeology groups and on his personal page too on Facebook, and he's got 1, possibly 2 children, I'm not really sure, and a wife. So that means he has to be either gone all the time or local, right? But he's I really feel for him because he's always, I don't want to say complaining, but he's always pointing out the deficiencies in the field as he sees them. Yeah. Because it's hard for him to find work. Now, he's in an area that, quite frankly, just doesn't have a lot of work. Really? I mean, it's an area that shuts down for the winter for sure. Oh. So they're only able to work, I don't know, 6 months out of the year at best in a good year. And I'm like, okay, you know, as an archaeologist, you have to. Yeah, you have to. Well, as a CRM archaeologist, let me put it that way. You have to know what the job description is, and the failing is the schools are not telling us what the job description is. And we're going to get to some of Colin's comments here in a second. He's actually commenting. Neat. But you have to know we have to be better at telling people what the job description is. Yeah. People want this to be a 9 to 5 Monday through Friday. Now, some people get that. You know, some people actually get that as a job. What? But often it's not even like if you're a salaried government employee, let's say you're working for the BLM or you're working for the Forest Service or something like that, you may actually still have some out-of-town stuff that you're going to have to do. It's less likely because you're going to be living in the district that you're working in, but the districts like in Nevada are freaking enormous.
Oh, but I've also got comments about that.
Yeah, well, I'll just say we need to be better at telling people what the job description is. What I tell people, I get comments relatively regularly that people are asking me, hey, I want to do this. I'm looking for a job here. Or what do you think about this? You know, check out my CV. And I make sure if it looks like they're new in the field, I make sure to tell them, whether they ask me or not, listen, do you know what you're getting yourself into?
See?
Like, I don't want to scare you, but do you know what you're getting yourself into? If you want a partner or spouse or whatever in the next, like, 5 years, and that person is not a traveling archaeologist with you, and you want kids, and you want, you know, all these other things, then work somewhere else. You're not going to get them.
No.
You know, because
or work another job.
Yeah, you have to focus on, if you want this to be your career, you have to focus on making this your career first.
Yeah.
And then look for a career path within that will get you what you want. If what you want is 2.5 kids, a white picket fence, a house, and a spouse, then there are ways to do that, but you have to say, okay, who has that around me? Who has that, and what the hell are they doing? And how did they get there?
See? Because, what was it? Last week, what was it? God, it seems like a million years ago, but we were in Elko, and, you know, I was talking with a buddy of mine, and, you know, he's like, man, this town, like, you know, all my friends, like, they just leave, because it's like one of those towns where they just look at it as a transit point, like, either on to something better, or they're archaeologists, and they're on to the next project, so it's like, you know, he doesn't have a lot of friends who, I mean, I guess I shouldn't say he doesn't have a lot of friends, but, like, you know, it's just like it stunts like social opportunities. There aren't a lot of ladies, you know, you can date, you know, because like anyone, like any of the locals, they're like high school kids who really want the hell to get out of this little town.
Mm-hmm.
But the thing is, if you want to be in the BLM, especially in Nevada, you're going to get stuck in these crappy little towns. Like I remember, I'm not going to mention the town, but they were practically, I think 3 years ago, they were practically begging me to take the BLM archaeologist job there. They're like, I'm like, I don't have a master's. They're like, so? Who the hell wants to work here? Just apply. I'm like, well, you know, a GS9, I don't know, that I might do it. But thankfully, the people who did end up in that district were a married couple. They're both archaeologists, and so that's how they ended up in that terrible, terrible town.
Yeah, but there's probably still no work for him, unless the BLM needs somebody.
No, but I mean, you know, it's like probably like the living cost there is so low, it doesn't really matter.
Right.
But I mean, the thing is, if you think you're gonna like live in LA, in like Hollywood, in some apartment, and like live a high lifestyle and like still be a traveling archaeologist, you're dreaming.
Yeah.
Like I know someone from my field school. She got her master's degree, and you know didn't want, you know, and she was actually she might still be thinking about getting her second master's degree, and yet she can't stand to be away from her fiance and her dogs and her cat. And it's like, you're dreaming. Like that's never gonna work.
Yeah.
Ever. Like I don't understand what possesses people to think that you're not going to end up, like, I didn't think I was going to end up in Reno. Did you think you were going to end up in Reno?
No, not even when I drove through the night with my first wife over 20 years ago to get married here the first time. I didn't think I'd get married twice in Reno, that's for sure.
Oh my god, we should totally get the Collins comment though, or forget.
Oh my god. Colin has a comment here. He said, travel sounded better when I was younger and didn't have kids.
See?
And that's the name of the game. You know, Colin's older now, has kids, and forgive me if I don't get this, Colin, but he's either has or is working on his PhD.
Wow.
So that'll allow him, hopefully, to be a little more stable.
Yeah.
You know, he'll be able to get a job, if he doesn't have one already, where he's relatively in the same place most of the time. Now, like all archaeologists, there's probably field work and travel over the summer where you're going to go to a field school. You're going to be gone 6 weeks, 8 weeks, but it's better than gone the whole year.
True.
So, and I actually hate the university system. I'm so conflicted about it though, because while I hate the university system in that I don't feel like it teaches people in our profession exactly what they need to know, and it's a vicious cycle. Like you can't, the university system can't really make itself more efficient in the way that it operates, because it has to pay for all the things that it's paid for while it was being inefficient. Oh. So if it starts becoming more efficient as far as the way it teaches education, which means cheaper, if that's what efficiency means, it means cheaper, Now they can't pay for all these other things they're paying for. So it's almost like all the old institutions are going to have to probably die while these new institutions that are running a completely different model come up and teach you exactly what you need to learn. I know I have a friend here at the collective that Richie and I know.
Oh.
He does these YouTube videos about getting people into digital marketing and getting people a job in that. Yeah, and he's got a couple videos, a new one that just came out I put on my Facebook feed actually, that that's basically how to tell your parents you're not going to college.
Oh,
and,
I saw that.
Yeah, and why. And his point is, you don't need to go to college to get a good job. Now, if all you're concerned with is getting a good job and doing something like that, I mean, you have to like what you're doing at least to a point. But I think there's also... I told him, I was like, dude, I totally agree with you. On the other hand, for my job, a college degree is required. I was like, it's still absolutely required to have a college degree to be an archaeologist, at least at the minimum, for most places. There are some places you can work where they'll grandfather you in or something like that. And here in Nevada, you actually don't need a master's degree to even be a PI. So, so I wouldn't advise anyone to get a master's degree unless for some reason the ideal job that they wanted specifically said, you will have a master's degree before we hire you. But then make sure that once you spend 3 to 5 years, hopefully you spend 1 year and you do it right. Yeah. But if you spend 3 to 5 years getting that check in the block, that they actually have a job waiting for you when you come back. Because the doors are not going to open for you. The gates are not going to,
Especially now. Well, I mean, because they used to have the Student Career Employment Program for like BLM archaeologists and stuff. Which is how one of my friends from field school, she got her current position with the BLM. Yeah. Yeah, but I think veterans complained, and so now, like, I don't know. That was just discontinued. And it was stupid, because, you got a lot of really good district archaeologists that way. Yeah. But it happens.
It does happen.
Boo. So, politics.
Yeah, who knows? Who knows? I don't know how this became a podcast about jobs. But it did.
It was archaeology.
Half the topics that we talk about are always about jobs. Yeah. People are so frustrated out there.
See?
It's because archaeology is one of those jobs of passion. I can't remember if we talked about this on an episode or...
We did.
Yeah.
Well, we haven't yet.
Well, yeah. So, but it's like one of those jobs of passion, like, people say... Like, you hear about it with, say, artists all the time, whether it's music or whatever. We've needed from time to time music for our podcasts. Yeah. And I've asked my dad. My dad is an artist. He creates stuff on his own. He doesn't do anything for money. I mean, he used to... I grew up with him playing in bars all the time.
Neat.
So, I mean, he's been the lead singer and lead guitarist in a rock band for like 30 years. So, actually, probably longer. But, so he just does stuff. Like, if you listen to the Arc 365 podcast or the CRM Archaeology podcast, he did the themes for both of those. Neat. Yeah, he created them, did the whole thing. So, but anyway, I've had other podcasts say, hey, I've got this artist that, says we can use their music. We need to attribute that to them either in the podcast or in the show notes. Yeah. And, I've known people, I know people in archaeology that are in bands that actually make decent music. True. And write music. And I've never once asked them to write me a theme song because I can't pay them for it. I would not do that unless I could pay them for it because too many people try to say, dude, it's the same thing with app development. Oh. I now work around 80 app developers in this freaking building, and we've talked about stuff I want to do. I've got some good friends here now, and we've talked about things I want to do. Not once have I said, hey, do you want to just like partner with me on this and you do all the work and then we'll get some money? Like you're doing it because you love it, right? And you can get commission or you can get exposure.
See, you have never lived in Hollywood because that's the way it works all the time.
I know, but people hate it though. Working for exposure is totally bullshit. So, and it's the same thing with working because it's your passion. Like, you should just appreciate you're on this archaeology gig. Regardless of what you're getting paid, you should appreciate that you can call yourself an archaeologist. Fuck you. That's what I've got to say to that.
Oh my God. That's what I was thinking when I was like, in the Midwest. Yeah. Like, pulling off ticks. Yeah. Which is gross.
It's totally gross. Yeah. All the posts you can tell on Facebook, if you lived in a cave and didn't know what year it was or what time of season it was. Yeah. Dude, like half the posts from all the people I know on Facebook are like, hey, does anybody know any good tick removal or chigger removal stuff or techniques?
Gross. Yeah. Oh, just thinking about it. The best way is just to grab them as they're calling up to trying to call up to your neck.
Yeah, totally.
Although I have to admit, there was one project where the safety people were in Galveston, Texas, so they had no clue about what was like in the field. Mm-hmm. And every tick you saw on you, every tick bite was a new incident report.
Oh my god.
So if you had if you were a biologist and down the weeds, and you had to pull 100 ticks off of you, that was 100 pieces of paper you had to fill out.
Nice. That's ridiculous.
But that's also archaeology.
That's also archaeology. Yeah.
Oh my god! Like the time where we had to do a safety check-in and check-out. We had to actually go to the office, and it was an hour each way, and we were only working 8 hours a day. So, it's 6 hours of work, and that doesn't include breaks and your lunch.
Some of the ridiculousness we have to go through. Yeah, when I took a short video on that last project you and I were on.
Yeah.
And we're out in the middle of nowhere. I couldn't even post it because we had no cell service, right?
Oh, yeah.
So I took the short video for a 3-year-old friend of mine who is a budding archaeologist who I bought a magnifying glass for, and he went to sleep with that magnifying glass, I'm pretty sure.
Really?
But I took that video for him, and we're working on a mine. So MSHA, Mine Safety and Health Administration rules apply, right?
What?
Now, this is kind of a different mine. So we were, it's kind of, the areas we were in are bounded by a haul road, which a lot of times when archaeologists are working on a mine of some sort, we're often out in areas where they're just doing total exploratory stuff. It's way off in the distance, it's nowhere near anything.
Yeah.
This is a little different in that they created haul roads around this whole place, and so we were on the inside of that. So I kind of understand if they were doing any blasting nearby, fly rock and things like that could be a problem. Now, they weren't. We never even got any calls for any shots, they call it. But that being said, we had to wear full steel-toe shoes, vests, hard hats and everything, and somebody commented, and I know the guy, he commented, and he's one of the archaeologists for Land Between the Lakes National Park is it a national park or a state park? Land Between the Lakes, I can't remember. Anyway, it's in southern Illinois, and he works there, and we talked to him at SEAC last year, the Southeastern Archaeology Conference, and he's like, really glad you're wearing that hard hat. He said, it looks like those trees could fall down on you. And I was like, dude, you have no idea. I was like, this is MSHA. We have to wear these things.
Yeah. But
that's the thing, this is kind of bullshit that we deal with. They're just these blanket rules that apply because somebody said it's a rule, and they have to enforce it. They're not actually thinking about the rule.
Dude, that one dude who, that rock flew through the windshield and decapitated. Do you think he was wearing his safety glasses?
Probably not. He was in his car, so, What Richie's talking about in MSHA video, you have to take your training every year, and they always just like to show you videos of people dying or near death, so they can scare you.
But that was one of the accidents that happened last year.
It was totally crazy.
And he was a mile from the blast, and yet it still came through his windshield and decapitated him.
That was totally ridiculous. Yeah. Before I forget, Colin did mention that he tells his students about the APN in general.
Neat.
And sends them to specific episodes as well.
Really?
Which is great, because I've heard other people say, other people who teach classes say that they use some of our APN episodes as educational material. Yeah.
Oh man, didn't what's his name go on a rant against that?
Which one?
Mr. Soup.
He may have. I don't remember though. It's been a long time since I listened to one of his Archeo Soup on YouTube.
Yeah. Oh, so he does his own music.
He does. Well, his music, one of his songs is the theme song for the Arcane Fantasies podcast. I wish we had a better quality version of it. I had to have him re-record that. Wow. But anyway, we've got about maybe 5 or 6 minutes left in this show.
Yeah.
Before I've got to go to another meeting where I'm going to help somebody develop another podcast.
Neat.
Which is going to be sweet. So, and it's actually a cool show concept. He does a YouTube channel called Arborglyph. Oh no, it's called Gizzardstone. That's right. His handle is Arborglyph, which everybody knows is tree carving, basically. But check out Gizzardstone on YouTube. He's got some really cool. This whole community I didn't even know it existed. I know people go out like four-wheeling and stuff like that, but this is a little more, I want to say, family oriented. He brings his family out there, and they get a few people together, and they go on these trips where you really need a high clearance 4-wheel drive vehicle to go on. But they're out. They've got their own fuel with them. They got all the spare tires. They got everything. They're out for 3 or 4 days, and they're out doing this. It's called overland camping or overland something or other.
I'm familiar with that.
Yeah,
my truck is pretty much set up for that.
Yeah, mine too. Kind of. Yours is more so than mine. But anyway, he does all these things, and it's a really cool videos that he does, and he does video production, I think, for a living. So the videos he puts together are really cool and well done. And he wants to do, I believe, an audio podcast about the same thing. I would totally turn on CRM Archaeologist to that, and any archaeologist to that, because you can learn stuff about setting up your vehicle, setting up your gear. He's done like basically gear videos before where he shows, hey, I have this and this is what it does, and you know, things like that. Yeah. So at least that's what I'm going to advise him. Yeah, I was like, please make this podcast because I want to listen to it.
Yeah, that sounds really good, actually.
Yeah, totally.
Oh my god, how many archaeologists do we know though who like go camping in like their cars, like their actual regular cars?
Seen plenty of Subaru camping out there.
No, that's true. But I mean, that kind of, you know, it's not so terrible.
Subarus are at least kind of made for that.
True.
Yeah, but you see people crammed into the back seat of their Acura. You know what I mean? I mean, it's it can get a little ridiculous.
Well, when I went to my field school the very first time, it was at the top of a very long 2-track road. And I had my convertible. That was like, I didn't have my truck yet. So it was fully loaded with gear. And like had to go up that. Although
your convertible, your Volkswagen?
Yeah.
Nice.
Although that's not even the craziest thing. There's one year at the field school where a student, he started out in Florida. And he put his camping gear, his excavation gear, his field gear, his personal stuff onto a 250cc Suzuki motorcycle. I don't know, the 250 Savage for anyone who's motorcycle savvy.
Wow.
And rode all the way to Southern California to Big Bear Lake. And he went up. He went up this 2-track road and everything. It was crazy.
I'll tell you what. My low point in archaeology. Everybody's got 1 or 10 of them. But my low point in archaeology was when I was working for. I won't say who, but they were a decent company. They just didn't pay well, but they were in Florida, so that's kind of like status quo. So it was my second year in archaeology, I think, and I had this thing's warning me about my next meeting coming up here in a few minutes. But I had my second, it was my second year in archaeology. It was over the summer. I was in fucking Florida in like July and August, South Central Florida, working near Lake Okeechobee. The office was out of Tampa.
Yeah.
It was Monday through Friday.
Yeah.
So on Monday morning, the crew would drive out to Lake Okeechobee, a couple hours away.
Yeah.
And then Friday afternoon, they would drive back to Tampa, right? Because most of the people were either from Tampa or staying in Tampa when that was going on. Now, sometimes I stayed in Tampa with a girl that was on the crew. She was like a crew chief, and she let me stay at her place, sleep on her couch. She had a really great house that was air conditioned, which you'll understand how important that is to me shortly. But it was air conditioned. It was right on a canal, which is not unique in Tampa. Like pretty much every house is on a canal. So right off her back porch, there was like a dock and like the canal. It was really cool.
Yeah.
But while I was there over the weekend, from like Friday night to Monday morning, I like literally didn't leave the house because of air conditioning. So because on this project in July and August, we'd walk out of the hotel room at 7 o'clock in the morning and instantly be drenched in sweat. Part of the reason was because our clothes didn't fucking dry from the night before. So,
gross.
So we would do that. But some of the times I was just like not wanting to impose on her.
Yeah.
The per diem we were getting was $21 a day.
What?
They were paying for the hotel, double occupancy, in a Holiday Inn Express. So at least there was that. It was a decent hotel. Yeah. But double occupancy, forced double occupancy. I had a roommate that he would basically like... He basically said the first time I ever met him, which was when I walked in, because I joined the project as it was in progress, so I walked in as they were getting off of work, and he had an extra bed, so that's where I got assigned. And I walk in with all my stuff, and he's like, hey, you mind if I use the bathroom real quick? And I was like, no, that's fine, man. He's like, don't worry, I'll double flush and all that. I was like, oh, that's fantastic, buddy. Thanks. I love double occupancy. So anyway. Sometimes I just didn't want to impose on her, and I wanted to just not stay there. But I had no money, dude. I was getting like $12 an hour.
Yeah.
And I was just paying my bills, and I had $21 a day per diem, and they shortened the per diem on Fridays because you didn't get dinner. So we got, I think, a total of $97 for 5 days.
What?
So this per diem was literally just barely paying for food. It was definitely not paying for anything else. But I was trying to make it stretch so I could at least put gas in my Volkswagen Beetle. And I had one of the new ones. I had one of the new Beetles. Yeah. I traded in I had an old, my car, when I graduated college, was driving back across Montana to Washington.
Yeah.
And my engine completely seized up. Ooh. And I actually sold my car in Billings, Montana. Not Billings. Somewhere around there. I think it was Billings. Near Billings, Montana, I in the parking lot of the hotel room, I watched them load it up onto a flatbed, and I sold it to a junkyard for like $300 because it's totally trash. And I rented a car and got the rest of the way to Washington. That was it. I was carless. So I had to get something, and I got a 5-speed manual new Beetle.
Yeah.
And it was probably 2007 or 8, and I think it was only a year or two old when I bought it.
Really?
It was actually a really fun car to drive. I look totally ridiculous in it because I'm too tall for it.
What?
But the way that the hood roof is sloped, it was actually really really good.
Yeah.
I need to finish the story now. But anyway,
Oh, yeah.
the whole point is that was a great field vehicle. You wouldn't think it would be, but with the seats down in the back, they laid practically flat. I could fit so much crap in that car. It was a hatchback. I could fit everything in there. I slept in there more than a few times. On the weekends, like I said, when I didn't want to stay in Tampa, sometimes I would just try to do it on the cheap, and I went over to Jupiter, Florida, which is in the other direction on the east coast of Florida. And I'd stay in a state park campground in a fucking tent in July and August. I spent all my time at a Starbucks because of air conditioning and free refills on coffee. And sometimes I bought a little fan at like the Walgreens because the campsite had power, so I brought a power strip in there.
Neat.
And I brought a fan in there, but it was so hot I couldn't sleep. Couldn't sleep at all. Sometimes I made sure I gassed up my car, and I just like slept in the car with the air conditioning running. Totally ridiculous. I'd wake up and shut it off, and then I'd wake up miserable, drenched in sweat, and turn it back on. That was the low point.
Wait, was that the same project where the hotel mistook someone for a homeless person?
Nope, that was the project before that. Our Australian friend, who was always wore ripped-up pants, had neck tattoos, was getting some orange juice at the hotel restaurant. They had a continental breakfast in the morning, and the Cuban guys that pretty much run the show down there, they were like, "You get out of here, you get out of here." He's like, "Dude, I live here." I'll never forget him telling us that. "Dude, I live here." Not like I'm staying in your $150 night hotel. I live here.
See, and people wonder what archaeology is like.
Oh my
like,
God.
Man, how many students do you think would drop out right now of the grad programs if they knew some of these stories?
Man. And then some people would sign up.
See?
Yeah.
See?
We need those people.
It's almost like Anthony Bourdain was saying, like, there's just a certain sort of person that becomes a chef.
Yeah.
And then, like, the people who go to, like, the chef schools, like, drop out when they finally learn what it's like.
It's like anything. I mean, I had a dropout rate when I was in boot camp in the Navy. There's a dropout rate in college. There's a dropout rate everywhere you go.
Yeah.
People think they know what they're getting into. The smart ones drop out.
See?
I don't judge anyone for dropping out.
Yeah.
If you drop out, it means you're not wasting your time and you're not wasting my time.
See?
Get the fuck out and go do something you want
And
to
yet,
do.
how many people waste their time and their money and, like, they're in debt forever.
My own wife got a double major in anthropology and biology, and now she knits for a living. But I told her, I spent probably a year or two before she got out of archaeology begging her to get out of archaeology. She didn't like it. She didn't like the lifestyle. She loved the thrill of discovery like anybody else does. She liked finding stuff. She liked surveys. She liked going on a hike.
Yeah.
But she didn't like the bullshit associated with it.
No.
She didn't like the job itself. She didn't like anything associated with that.
What?
I was like, get out. Find a way to make money doing your passion.
See?
So that's what I'm going to close with because we got to go.
Yeah, we should, because I have about 50 seconds worth of video left.
Nice.
On this card.
All right. Well, before these things die,
Yeah.
and we got to get the hell out of here because I've got an appointment. Show up at 3 p.m. next Friday. I've got the goddamn appointment scheduled, so we
thank
don't
God.
screw it up this time.
All right.
And we'll be here. So show up. Thanks, Colin, for being here. I think
Hello, Colin. Nice to meet you.
I think you're still here. I can't really tell.
Yeah.
Definitely call me at or email me at chris@archaeologypodcastnetwork.com. Call me when you're ready to do this paleoanthropology podcast.
Yeah.
Because I love it. Do it. So
And all my social medias are in the description of my YouTube videos.
absolutely. So
And what about you?
all my stuff at ArchaeoWebby, at ArcPodNet, everything. It's all going to be in the show notes if you're looking at the audio for this. If it ever goes up at arcpodnet.com/YCTA is what the address will be. Hopefully by the end of this weekend, that address will be up. So,
Yay.
okay.
All right.
All right. Thanks, everybody.
Yeah, thanks for joining us.
I'm going to stand up rudely now and hit the finish button because there's no other way to stop this.
Oh, my God. So much. Oh, wow, we were cutting this super close.